Good morning. I'm David Zehren of Zehren Friedman Associates. Welcome to this webinar on helping techs talk to mere mortals. Let's start, as so much of life does today, with a Google search. If you type in the letters HATEPOW, Google will very quickly fill that in for you. It'll give you several options, but one of them is hate PowerPoint. And then in a fraction of a second, it will give you 3,770,000 results. The question, of course, is why is this idea of hating PowerPoint so popular? And the sad answer to that is because so many people make really poor PowerPoint presentations. That might be especially true of rather technically oriented people. Let's look at the challenges that all presenters face, but I think these challenges may be even steeper for most technical presenters. The first challenge is that technology has made us lousy listeners. Two ways that's true. Think first of all the different inquiries that come to you in a day, through your email, through your texting, through your voicemail, through your handheld devices. You're under constant request for your attention. And so you've got many, many things on your mind in addition to what the presenter is talking about. But then consider search engine technology, which we just saw an example of. When a presenter speaks today, the audience knows that they can do a search for this presenter's topic and probably find an archive of this presenter's work, but in addition to that, they can find what hundreds of other people, perhaps even more expert than this presenter, have had to say on the same topic. And so many, many audience members make the perfectly rational decision that it probably isn't smart for me to pay close attention to this. There's other things I should be thinking about also. I need to be busy multitasking. And so they proceed to do that knowing that they will have almost instant access whenever they want it to the very subject matter the presenter's talking about. So we are lousy listeners, and most presenters don't know how to compensate for that. The second challenge. Many presenters use visuals with their presentation that actually make the presentation worse. Worse for the presenter and especially worse for the audience. The third thing, technical presenters spend too much time reporting the data and not enough time telling stories. And stories, that is the meaning of the data, is much more powerful and much more memorable than the data itself. And then finally, there's this thing we call actuaries in their shoes. You've probably heard it said or heard it asked, how can you tell if an actuary is an introvert or an extrovert? And the answer, of course, is that if he's an introvert, he looks at his shoes when he talks to you. But if he's an extrovert, he looks at your shoes when he talks to you. So that's the final challenge. Fortunately, we have solutions for each of these challenges. The first one is that we show presenters how to compensate for lousy listeners. How can I get over that wall, if you will, and get through to them with my message? We have some good advice for that. The second is regarding the visuals. We offer good guidance both for individual visuals, how to make each visual itself more powerful and more clear, but we also have some good advice for structuring the deck, structuring that overall file so that it can serve different types of audiences for you. The third thing, we will help presenters learn to tell stories. We'll make you comfortable. We can give you some good guidance on how to tell stories that will make your message both more impactful and more memorable. And then finally, we're going to urge you to go barefoot. Forget about the shoes. Just look your audience straight in the eye. Put some personality and passion in it, and your message will come across much stronger if you do. So let's go back to our 4 challenges and take a closer look at them. The first you remember is the challenge of lousy listeners, and the second, the challenge of lousy visuals. I want to show you a few short clips of people who do a wonderful job of meeting both of those challenges. Note, these presenters are energetic, they're passionate, they in fact are very hard to ignore, both because of their own spoken delivery and their own animation and because of the energy that comes off their visuals. So take a close look, but keep that in mind. These are people that are reaching those lousy listeners. These presenters are very hard to ignore. Let's take a look.
This is the world in 1860. Each bubble is a country. And this axis down here shows wealth, income per person, $500, $5,000, and $50,000. And this axis is health here. The length of life from 20 years all the way to 80 years. And the size of the bubbles here shows the size of the population. And the color marks the continent. The Americas blue, Europe yellow, Asia red, and Africa green. And look what happened when I start the world here. If you look at the replay, you see this very clear, how the West took off first and then how the rest is following and catching up.
This is Albert Einstein. You know, Albert didn't say a word until he was 2.5 years old. His nanny had a word for Albert. She called him stupid. You see, what's happened is that we've come to associate someone's ability to talk with intelligence. Now, there's some truth to that, but that is far less than half the picture. The fact is that all of us are of two minds. One part of our mind sees the world in terms of bits and lines and sequences and words. And the other part of our mind sees the world in terms of wholes and maps and pictures.
Now, we don't expect all of us to be like Hans Rosling in terms of our energy when presenting, but I think we've made the point. You need to have a strategy for reaching lousy listeners.